We are back. It is your therapist playlist. Set that slow because I wanted to make sure I enunciated correctly and remembered the name. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another great episode of, again, your therapist playlist. I am Matt.
And I'm Anna.
And we are recording live. Not really, but we have a video up. Yeah, this is another great Sunday to record, and we are here with another special interview that we'll be getting into in a few minutes. But before that, let's check in. Listeners, how are you? Right, you can't answer. So let's get to hearing about how we're doing. Anna, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Weekend's going good. We haven't done too much this weekend. We did another movie night. We watched Scooby-Doo.
Which one?
It was a new Scooby-Doo and Arthur, like King Arthur.
Oh.
Something about King Arthur. And but my favorite actor does voiceover. His name's Jason Isaacs. And yes, Matt, I have met him. Of course. He's a lot shorter than I thought in person, but I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
He's in a lot of movies. He's in The Patriot. He's in Harry Potter. He does tons of voiceovers. And he did the voice for like 3 characters in this movie.
Who was he in Harry Potter?
Lucius Malfoy. Draco Malfoy's dad.
Okay. I gotta check him out again.
Yeah. I really liked him in The Patriot, though. That's the first movie I ever saw him in. But yeah, Scooby-Doo, I'm not a huge Scooby-Doo fan, but for some reason the kids and my husband like really like Scooby-Doo, so I don't know.
I don't understand it either. Like even when the old episodes used to air when we were younger, I was just like, I don't get it. But now I'm kind of intrigued because of certain plots. But after you watch 2 episodes, it's like it's the same damn plot point every single time. Oh my God, villain, figure out who he is. Would have got away for. I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids and then rinse, repeat. I like Scrappy. And I liked that they made Scrappy a villain in one of the like live action movies, but I didn't care after that.
I do remember a live action movie with like Freddie Prinze Jr. because I used to like Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah.
Who didn't actually? But I don't know. I've never gotten really into like the plots or storyline and the whole like 60s 70s vibe thing. I've never really felt that. It's always just kind of like the animation's always kind of like grossed me out for some reason. Like I'm like, it's not cute animation by any means.
Which is crazy because I believe it's a Hanna-Barbera production. So the Flintstones, Jetson, all that is familiar to us and we love, but that one in particular, just no.
It's creepy because like the eyes are creepy. Like there's no like color to like people's eyes. It's like where there'd be like whites of your eyes. It's like
black
pink.
dots.
Yeah, and it like it bothers me. Like Scooby, it obviously is like cuter. Flintstones is pretty cute. I mean, you know, Dino and everything. But
for me, it ties back into what we do for the podcast. The music. I don't think the music wasn't necessarily good. I just feel like they tried too hard to capture the essence of that time period with like the instrumentation they used and the transitions and stuff like that. That's what often annoyed me.
The whole like Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
Yeah. I get it. It's supposed to be suspenseful and mysterious. This just makes me cringe though.
It is cringy. But anyway, the kids loved it. I'm pretty sure my husband liked it. He was like all into it, but
sorry to the Scooby-Doo fans.
You guys can like Scooby-Doo. I don't care. People like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
I don't know, Matt. But how's your weekend?
My weekend pretty lively. I went into my part-time job. I work at a private practice part-time, and I went in for the first time and saw the facility, and it is as shout out to Lori. She's the executive director. I forget her whole title, so I'm just gonna say director, not of the whole facility, but of something that I'm forgetting. She used the word posh, super posh. Like, this is what I am envisioned working in a private practice straight out of grad school would look like fancy offices, very nice decor, 2 floors. I've only seen 1 floor of private practices. Just everything looks so nice and fancy. And then I saw my office. I'm sharing an office with another therapist. It still looks really, really nice and very well kept. Anna, where'd you go? All right. We had some technical issues, but who really wanted to hear about my weekend anyway? So I'll make it short. I'm not. It was pretty cool. I was saying that I went into my new private practice that I work at part-time as a facility, and to use the words of one of my colleagues, Lori, shout out to her, very posh, very nice. The interior, amazing. It's not that big per se, but it's easy to get lost because of how many rooms there are and corridors and things like that. 2 floors, saw my office. Office was cool. And yeah, I'm going to enjoy going in there and working in person with people. Feels like a home. Other than that, went to a friend's birthday party. Shout out to Ashley. Happy birthday. Or is it not really belated birthday because I already wished you a happy birthday already. So happy birthday anyway. She had a party. We caught up with some old college friends and it was really cool. Her and my friend, her fiance Justin, they just bought a house too, so we got to experience that, which is great. And other than, taking one of my kittens into a follow-up for a vet and her attacking them and them giving me some stuff to give to her at home and said, yeah, she was on to us this time. So here's the stuff that you can finish up with at home. I was like, you are scary. This is what you're supposed to do. It was good. And now I'm just well rested, ready to get into the show.
That's great.
All right. Anna, would you like to let our listeners know who we're interviewing today? Oh, wait. We're doing things wrong, or I'm doing things wrong, because we have a sponsor to talk about for today's episode.
Oh, yes. So if you guys haven't heard before, we've mentioned it, I think, a few times now. And we've mentioned it on our Instagram page and our Facebook page. Our sponsor is TBD Coffee. TBD Coffee.
Hey.
It's on there. And TBD Coffee, they are sustainably grown and ethically sourced. Everything is freshly roasted. So once you place your order, that's when it's roasted. The cool thing about TBD Coffee is that each month is a new blend. So there's something new to try, like each month. The most recent one that they released has a little like naked dash hound on it. Marley, the dash hound, who I think Marley is head of, she's like head of communications. Consumer Affairs. Yes, Marley is head of Consumer Affairs. So very smart dog. But for you guys, listeners, for coffee lovers out there, if you use our promo code YTP15, I get that right, Matt, YTP15. If you use our promo code, you can get 15% off on anything site-wide, no minimum purchase, no expiration. So yeah, and there's I think we posted about it last week too. So if you forget like the code YTP15, listen to this episode again or check out our Instagram and Facebook page.
Yeah. And we're probably going to promote it moving forward as we remember it more consistently, because who doesn't want 15% off of very amazing merchandise, very amazing coffee blends, and who doesn't want to support local businesses? Support local businesses, even though we're
support local businesses. And Matt has a cool coffee cup too. His changes colors, and there's a picture of it on our page. But like when it's hot, it's like you can see the image super clear, right? And then I have this one. Don't CC me, which I like.
When I actually have something hot to sip on, like the coffee blend that I was given from our sponsor, then you guys will be able to see the magical effects of it. Or maybe we'll just put up like an Instagram clip of what it looks like when it changes colors. That's a good idea.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah. Instagram Reels.
And maybe, just maybe, there may be a future giveaway that you can look forward to. Who knows?
Yes. We will be talking about that soon.
TBD. Ah,
TV.
coffee.
Oh, clever. Oh, I gotta remember with this episode, Matt, that we're doing video and audio. I always forget. I honestly forget because I've been like talking about my coffee cup, and the listeners cannot see my coffee cup, but
you just
they
showed
can't
it.
see it. I did, but but if they're just listening and they're not watching the video,
Right. I forgot. Yeah, we're not just the audio podcast anymore. We do video stuff now too. We have YouTube now, guys. Forgot to mention that as well, or did we mention it last time? Don't remember.
We didn't really. So we got YouTube up, but we have not posted our last interview yet. We will be posting that within this week. Hopefully, that is the goal. And then this episode as well on YouTube for you guys to view. Now, Matt, now we can talk about our guest.
Special guest.
Yes. So today for you guys, we have Dennis Caravello. I checked with him like 5 times, Matt, to make sure that I said his name right. Caravello, joining us from Nashville, Tennessee.
I'll be waiting on a New Year's resolution. Seems to me like a great solution. Hell, I think I said the same thing last year. Oh, well, something's got to give if you really want to live, and I'd be lying if I said just giving it my best. First things first, I got to break up the ice in my chest.
Hello.
Howdy.
You have really great timing. I was very surprised to see that you joined just when we were talking about you.
I was nervous. I saw you guys chatting. I was like, "Uh-oh, am I late?" I'm like, "What's going on?" They want to throw a wrench in your deal. I was like, "Uh-oh, what did I do?" But it's cool. I'm glad I'm here on time.
Yes, welcome.
Yes, you
to the
appeared
show.
just as I was announcing you, so it just made it more magical.
Yeah, I was like, this actually kind of worked out. So
and it makes me not a liar.
right.
How are you doing today?
Good. Just no complaints. Yeah, it's a beautiful day here in Nashville, and yeah, just kicking back on a Sunday.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
It's super cold here.
Oh yeah, yeah. My parents are. I was just talking to them. They're back in northwest suburbs of Chicago, and I think they said it was pretty chilly, but it looks sunny. Here it is. It says 66 degrees. It's sunny.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, I was just sitting outside in a t-shirt, so I mean, it is.
Technical difficulties, guys.
Technical difficulties. Yes, I think we lost him. Well, it's not me this time though with my bad connections. We'll let Dennis rejoin us. I thought it was me again for a second. I was like, oh shit.
Back?
I'm back. What happened there? My goodness, sorry.
We don't know. It happened with Anna too. I think it has something to do with the internet connection.
Okay. Is it on my? I think. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was. All right. Well, we're here now. Let's fingers crossed. Hopefully, I'll.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Cool.
But man, you guys' cameras look better than anyway. So where were we? We were talking about the weather, and it is 45 here. So it's not great.
Yeah, typical though. I feel like for like the Chicago spring, like that's usually like that's hoodie weather. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about how at least where I'm at is 52. So Anna has like the coldest degree temperature than me. I'm like, I'll go out in hoodie, maybe shorts too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sometimes if the sun is out, you can get away with a t-shirt.
Are you two like those guys that wear the cargo shorts when it's like 30 degrees out?
Not cargo, but gym.
I don't actually own a pair of cargo shorts.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I actually, most of the time, I just wear pants. I'm always wearing pants. My parents are always yelling at me, "Why don't you put some shorts on?" It's like hot in Chicago, and they're like, it's 80 degrees. I'm just used to wearing jeans or a pair of pants. I don't know.
I feel like that's more country, like to
wear pants.
Yes, to wear pants.
Yeah.
I've never seen a cowboy in some jean shorts.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess that's true. Yeah, I'm far from probably the furthest thing from a cowboy. Um, but yes, I do agree. Yeah, it's true. If I was a ranch hand or something, I would not be wearing, shorts.
Oh yeah, no one on Yellowstone wears.
Yeah. Right, right, right.
And speaking of Yellowstone, I think that's a good transition. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about your style of music. When you say Yellowstone, because when we've talked before, I think we talked about one of the artists on Yellowstone and how the music style is similar to yours and this kind of like Americana style
Hmm.
country music. So yeah, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I would say Americana seems to be the most fitting for I think what I do. And I know it seems to be a relative genre, but I like it because it does kind of capture a whole big group of genres. You know, it's all like this. I think it's like a big umbrella for blues and bluegrass and soul music and just really like American roots music. And then there's like a contemporary aspect, at least in my case for sure. And I think that that is cool because it's in current day. You know, I'm going to sing about stuff that I've probably been through, or stuff that yeah. So it's based in it's like American roots music, but there's like a contemporary kind of aspect, I think, and that makes sense if you're taking like some sort of an honest approach, or there's like relatability in that. I can't really sing about the 40s or the 50s, or I could if I knew about a certain event. I guess you could kind
Yeah.
of revisit that in a song. Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
and you
American
write all your own music, right? So
Yes, yes. There are a couple instances where I've written with, a friend, or I've recently done a little bit of writing with a friend of mine, Katie Frank, who's a songwriter, by the way. Go check her out. She just put out a new song. And, but yeah, most of the stuff is all just me writing it.
What would you say got you started into trying to be a music artist?
I think first of all, loving music to begin with, and then also really that's actually a really difficult question to answer. I'm not sure how to answer because I think I've always loved music from a really young age. But I guess if we're gonna talk about like me attempting to pursue it on a professional level, I don't know that there's like a specific answer to that or a particular instance. It's just like it felt good to write songs from a pretty young age. Um, and I enjoy the process. And then also seeing like I'm a big fan of live music and all that, and that just is always fuel. You know, you go to a great show or you see a show on YouTube or wherever you're watching, and that's really inspiring and makes me want to create. So does that answer answer your question?
Yeah, usually even in like what I do for work, I love to just converse with people. So I'm never really looking for a specific answer. So
Hmm.
there's always just variances that I'm sure people have when it comes to different rationale experiences when it comes to any question. So I'm just kicking back,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
conversing, loving to hear what you have to offer.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess it's one of those things too that I probably don't, you don't think about it a whole lot. Like in anything, once you do it for a little while, it just kind
Mm.
of becomes like second nature. It's
Yes.
it's a part of your day to day, and um, I guess I'm always kind of thinking about songs or thinking a certain line, or whether or not that song gets finished. That's kind of up in the air. But yeah, I think I love songwriting, and I love the whole process, and just love music in general. So I guess taking that leap and being inspired by other musicians and just listening to music, it was I think that's probably what pushed me in this direction.
with songwriting, as therapists, we always there's always like that common coping skill suggestion about like, oh, have you tried journaling? Have you tried,
Yeah,
tracking your moods and daily emotions and things like that? But songwriting is sort of like the artistic form of that, right? So it's
yeah,
more.
yeah, totally. Where you I didn't want to cut you off in your.
No, no, no. Yeah, I was just wondering if you like your thoughts on that and sort of like the therapeutic component of like songwriting. Like, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, and it's the legal pad is probably like my therapist, really, when I think about it, because you're just like spilling your guts half the time, or you're trying to write something and you get to the end of the song or end of a verse or a chorus, whatever you were writing, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm just kind of venting in some cases, even if you started writing it about, or at least in my case, like you're writing about something else, and it's like a little bit of me shows up in there because I think that's natural for me to do that. And yeah, it is totally therapeutic. I mean, you're just I've got a great support system around me, friends and family, and a lovely girlfriend that is happy to let me, get whatever it is off my chest. But sometimes when I pick up a guitar, I'm working on writing something. It's like that's also really a great exercise and a great way to vent when there's nobody around to vent to.
I think, well, yeah, it's different in the expression, right? Because I don't want to put down like conversations because we're therapists, so that's the whole thing. Like we converse
Yeah.
with people, we listen, we talk. But I feel like for some people, it's easier to write to express themselves than to speak. Like when you're trying to talk to someone, you're face to face with someone. I think sometimes thoughts get jumbled, and that's where Matt and I come in with our jobs. Like when we're meeting with clients one to one, well,
Oh, you're frozen? Are you, Matt?
No, I'm
You're
good. I just know that when this happened the first time, wasn't a fan of it. So I was just joking with her earlier and saying, you know what, I'm going to probably end up self-sabotaging so that we can all be a unison group so I can have connection issues and then the audience can know, okay, it's everybody.
Yeah.
I like your background.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's like my girlfriend's kind of she's kills it with the home decor and all that. So we got this little shelf with some stuff and these plants. It's it's a quick little setup to it. It's like tilt the screen a little bit. There it is. Oh, she's back.
I'm going nuts with this internet. It is driving me yeah.
No biggie.
All right, you want to pick back where we left off?
Yes. So let's start. Okay, we were at.
Yes, we were talking about expression.
Yes. Okay, so little technical difficulties again, but we were talking about how for some people it is easier to write to express than to speak, because when we're speaking to someone face to face, especially like a loved one, like if you're arguing with like your partner or something like that, and you're trying to express yourself but you're also trying to hear what they're saying, there's just a lot going on, there's a lot of emotion in the moment, and I feel like sometimes writing things out is a little easier. It definitely depends on the person, but I don't know, would you agree with that then, as a musician, like as a writer?
It's so, like, to be clear, so you're saying maybe it's easier to write and vent that way, or to express something rather than just having a conversation, verbal.
Yeah, sort of that whole you have an argument with someone and then later you think about like, oh, I should have said this, like a better
Right. Yeah. Yeah, probably. I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting too, writing songs, something might come out that it's not so direct. Like maybe there's a line you've written and it's, what it means, but it came out on paper different, in a different way. Like you're expressing that idea that you had, but maybe it was like this subconscious kind of thing. It comes out in the you word it differently when you're writing a song, maybe. And you're like, oh, that's what I was going through then. But I wrote, that's a strange way to put it. But yes, I can understand where I was coming from with that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, because it's like, okay, because you can tell someone you love them, right? You can say like,
Yes.
I love you, right?
Yeah.
And there's meaning to that. But then if you write them a letter or a song and you're there's sort of like a story to it, or there's more expression, like these different lines, and it's like more of like a transference of your feeling on like a deeper level, right? Than just those words, I love you. It's
yeah. And then there's like always a bunch of different ways to express an idea. And it depends on, if we're talking about songwriters or artists, musicians and whatnot, like it kind of depends on how you want to express that. There are a lot of songs that are wonderful that are super direct, and they can, you can just say I love you, and that can be a beautiful thing. But there's other, you can dig into maybe like a certain experience that you went through that is unique to that relationship, and that makes for a much more thoughtful experience as well. Like, oh, he or she was really paying attention, and then they wrote this in the song, like that's cool too. And you're like, oh, like that person went deeper with that than I thought they were going to go. So that's kind of cool.
I really appreciate you mentioning that, because this is one of the things that sometimes I talk about with my own clients when it comes to expressing things. Yes, sometimes the words, obviously they matter, but sometimes they can lose their significance if you use them repeatedly in moments that sometimes are relevant but don't really carry the impact. So sometimes what I'm hearing is it's also important to make sure that you demonstrate it with different actions. So just like in the creative process, you're trying to create a completely entirely different experience that demonstrates, I remember these moments that really were significant for us as like a couple, or for myself individually, that are significant, and I want to present it in a way that matters. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm hearing when it comes to your creative process, which is really good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like just the way that I like to work is I'm always searching for like something that might just be a little bit, not that there's anything wrong with cliches, because those can be really cool too, and they're great cliches that are true and wonderful. But I always like to search for like little nuggets of like just really strange or like kind of unorthodox, or certain lines, like grabbing something from your personal experience or something somebody else that you knew or that went through. And it's cool to like throw these little bits in there where people are like, what is that, what is he talking about there?
Kind of how I felt about 1979, like your song 1979. Like the way it starts out, it seems like if you just listen to the first four
Yeah,
lines
yeah.
or something, you're like, this song's gonna be about just some random, I don't, like you don't know where it's gonna go, but then you listen to the whole song and you're like, oh shit, this song is
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
not
yeah.
what this was about.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's definitely one where, yeah, even sometimes when I sing it, if I'm playing it out somewhere, I'm always kind of wondering, because you play a song enough times and there's definitely like a muscle memory thing involved. But every once in a while, I'm able to like, or that being said, I'm able to maybe like reflect on a certain line, like while I'm playing it, and I'm thinking, what are these people thinking? Because I'm just said that, it was a summer day and I got bit by the neighbor's dog, and like, like what? But that's about a real experience that I heard about, and that ended up in the song. So yeah, and I love that stuff. I just think it's a fun way to write and just to mix things up. Yeah.
That song itself too is like incredibly passionate, but it like hearing it, you wouldn't know that it's not your experience, like
Mhm.
something that you experienced directly. I think I figured it out just because you're not that old. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
but I mean anyone who would listen to it the first time would think like, oh, like because of how passionately you sing it and like how well it's written, that it's like your specific memory.
Yeah, yeah. And so like stepping into like for that song, stepping into somebody else's shoes and writing about somebody else's experience is super like it's actually a little bit terrifying because it feels good in the moment, and then you maybe finish the song and you're like, or you're editing or doing whatever, and there's really like this a weight, you're carrying this memory through and or carrying that on in song, and you don't want to miss the mark. So it's like you either really have to know enough about that story, I feel, or just maybe don't, maybe make it more universal, throw in little bits about this or that. But that particular story were just things that I heard about. And I just had held on to those stories and then decided to write a song about it. Yeah. I hadn't written in a while. I think I was getting away from writing or something. And that was the song that kind of re-sparked that, like, oh, okay, cool. This would be a really something cool to visit and dig into a little bit. So that was a fun song to write.
Is it easy to transition from the linear style to more so explorative when you are kind of like writing songs?
I guess I don't really even think about it like that. So that's cool that you asked that, because it's a lot about like what I'm listening to at the time, or
Mm.
certain influences. Like if you're writing something that might be like a blues, that can be a lot more linear, and it's and I love that style of writing because I feel like it's right to the point.
Yeah.
It doesn't leave a lot of space for discussion, I guess, or you can just, I mean, a great song is a great song. That's how I look at it, really, at the end of the day. And so yeah, looking at linear versus this explorative type of songwriting, I don't know, I guess I don't really view like go between the two, or like oh, this is where this song's gonna go, I'm gonna write in this style. It's more of just like kind of what comes out, what
Yeah.
feels good. And if a song's got more of a rambly kind of vibe and it's really wordy but it works, usually I'll stick with it and try to hold on to that one. So I don't know. Yeah, if it feels good, I definitely like to. I'm gonna stick with it, I guess, is
Okay.
how it work. Yeah, that's kind of vague, maybe, but
Not, at least not for me. I can't speak for the listeners, but for me, it makes sense because it just seems like you are trying to be as natural as possible when it comes to the creation of what your work is. Like you're not trying to put too much thought into it, but you are trying to be a bit effortful in terms of content that you release to your fans. And I think that that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And there have been instances where songs or lines come out and you're like, I've been in that spot where I'm like, I don't really know where this came from. And I guess sometimes that'll bug me because you do want you want it to be like an intentional process. I mean, it is a thoughtful thing to do, to write a song, and whether it's for you or for somebody else. So sometimes when those ideas just kind of flow out, there's this, I tend to maybe resist or like dig into it a little bit more sometimes. But I also trying to do a better job of like just honoring that expression and being like, okay, like maybe it's a subconscious thing. It's coming out. I like the way it sounds, and
Yeah.
I kind of understand where that's coming from.
What if, okay, I have a question. It's a little, I guess, deep, but
That's cool. Hit me with
so
it.
how do you handle? Because Matt and I think we have talked about this before, maybe in another episode. But how do you handle songs that are like just extremely personal, like any song that you've written that is about one of the most difficult times in your life, having that recorded, having that listened to, continue, like having to perform that song, I'm just curious just in general, like how do artists do that? Because it is, just to give you a little background, Dennis, with trauma work, like as a counselors, there's I'm thinking of Matt, like narrative
Mhm.
therapy, like
Yeah.
kind of taking ownership of your story, whatever sort of traumatic experience you've had, like there's therapeutic component to being able to take ownership of it. The more times you talk about it, it becomes yours and like you take power over it.
Okay.
But I'm curious if
Yeah.
that's sort of like a natural thing for artists and like performers, because you put so much into the songs that you write and not all of them are happy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And honestly, if I were to look at a lot of the stuff that I've written, they're not necessarily like happy songs. And I don't know that I'm good at writing, in that writing that type of thing. For some reason, the like real topics that hold more weight, maybe stuff that people won't discuss or the stuff that's kind of swept under the rug. I like to pull those ideas out from under the rug. And I think it's natural at this point. And I enjoy kind of like really getting into the nitty gritty of it, of those topics rather than staying at the surface. And that's just, I guess, my preference.
Is that intentional?
I think maybe it was intentional, and now yeah, I guess it is intentional. Yeah, because if I write a line, I'm always like, oh, maybe this is a shallow way to put that, and I like to dig deeper, like and maybe think of a personal experience or experience somebody else has been through that's like just a little more like maybe it'll hit you in the gut a little more. Like, oh, like it's most of the time it's stuff people don't want to hear, and sometimes those ideas are interesting to perform live because if it's a really heavy song, sometimes it does take me a second to where like takes me a few passes to get through it without maybe losing my cool or something, and getting choked up or whatever. And so that's a totally different can of worms, but I don't want to get too off topic. I'm sorry, I can't have like clearer answers.
No, we've got you. Like everything
Okay.
that you're saying makes sense. Like
Okay.
I feel like for Anna and myself, when we work as therapists, it's essentially that type of structure, but not necessarily structure. It's like very creative and innovative. Like when we're trying to work with somebody to assist them with the problem,
Yeah.
we don't want to go in linearly per se, but we are making sure that we take into perspective like things that they've been through, the things that they're saying, so that we can kind of assess what's the best way to really get that gut punch, if you will, when it comes to therapy
Yeah.
progress. And sometimes it's hard to do that because human nature, you want to be easy, you want to be kind, you want to be nice, you want to live in happy land all the time. But happy
Yeah.
land is so much more happier when you are able to pull those things from under the rug and say, hey, here, this is an issue, let's talk about it, and then
Yeah.
do so with comfort and empathy and understanding. So
Mhm.
long story short, I want to give you a degree in music therapy because this sounds like
yeah.
you're just with music.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. It is really like it totally is therapeutic for sure. And I've recognized that in recent years, I think. The process is, I think there are definitely times where I'll actively try and not write with myself in mind, because it's so easy to do that. I think because we are who we are, you know what I mean? Like our ideas are naturally going to come out because it's us speaking or addressing certain things, you know, and we all can relate to our own experiences best, right? I would say it's a personal thing. And so, yeah, there are definitely times where I try to like step out of my own shoes, because it really is, it becomes so therapeutic and you're like, oh my gosh, this was about this. And it's like, I ended up in every verse of this song. So, but it's natural. And yeah, like I said, I try to embrace that and just let the song do its thing. Cause you know, like I said, that legal pad definitely is like is for sure like a therapist. And sometimes you're just rambling and you get to the end, you're like, oh, I just totally I worked that out. You know?
You definitely are like, I think he has the skills of a therapist. That's what I'm getting, the vibes I'm getting, because
Oh god.
what you're saying, like, because what you're doing, Dennis, when you're like singing about other people's experiences and then kind of
Yeah.
finding a way to connect with them and making them your own, like that's empathy, and that's what we do. Like that's
Yeah.
the core of like being a therapist. Like,
Yeah.
and not everyone has the ability to do that.
Definitely.
So
And
you're like,
it's,
you're special.
oh gosh, thank you so much. That's very sweet of you to say that. It's interesting. It's cool to hear that, honestly. And so thank you guys both for that. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely like a unique process, and everybody writes differently. And I'm sure therapists are similar. You guys all kind of, guys and gals, work in your own unique ways, and I'm sure everyone has a different approach. And maybe some things work great for one person, and for whoever's next to it, it could be a totally different deal. Um, but for me personally, yeah, the therapeutic side of it, and I think most songwriters will probably say something similar. It is like that, you know. And there's, you're digging up demons and all sorts of stuff that maybe, you know, you don't want to address, but it's like, well, it's probably going to come out if you're trying to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's cool, and it can be a struggle, it can be painful, but it's cool. I think at the end of the day, that I'd rather break down playing a song live than you know, walk off a stage, or leave an experience having played a song knowing that I didn't uncover all of it. You know, I just like to do that, and I'm sure some cases it's better off not, you know, uncovering all of it. But for me personally, I kind of like to just leave it all out there. I don't know.
I think that's part of what makes you like unique as an artist, or a good artist, because Matt and I, we both like, okay, everybody likes the music that's just kind of like nonsense party music every once in a while, you know. Yeah, okay, pop. I'm not trying to like put down any genres, Matt. But yeah, we all like, you know, the whatever music to listen to. That doesn't mean anything. But the music that really helps to connect people uh is the music that has that passion in it, the real experiences, talking about stuff that other people don't want to talk about, because by you
Mhm.
doing that, that helps the listeners, to the listeners to your music, like know that they're not alone in these experiences.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
that's what makes music powerful. And with country music, because I was gonna get on this rant today, and here it's starting because it's gonna happen.
Did you just say that? You just said that with a little bit of a drawl, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I can't have a draw from where I'm from. It's
Awesome.
yeah. But yeah, with country music, it's just I like pop country. It's fun. You know, I like the 90s country. I like the early 2000s country. But we have strayed so far from, you know, Hank Williams, and then you know, the music that was depressing but meaningful and
Yeah.
real, and talking about things that people don't want to talk about, especially in country music these days. And what is in the past like couple decades, it's been primarily pop. And I don't know how many songs I can listen to about a truck. I had a truck. I loved my truck, and a 1990 Chevy Cheyenne. And that was the truck that I learned to drive on. I drove that thing in the city. I drove that thing downtown Chicago. I did not care. I loved
Yeah.
that truck. But
Yeah.
I can only listen to so many songs about trucks.
Yeah.
Just, you
Yeah.
know, and so that's what makes you like, we need more artists like you out there that are especially in the country, like folk Americana genre, like talking about real issues, you know. And that's one of the reasons I really like your song Blank Faces. That song,
Thank you.
Man.
Yeah. I'm glad you dig it. Yeah, it's that one's definitely got a bit more weight to it. And again, I don't like, it's not like I try to like what's, how am I going to show the listener that I'm, this passionate guy and I wear my heart on my sleeve and all this. It just like, again, that's just something that I choose to maybe approach a topic or an idea that way, where it's just like, here it is. I think what I realized is that all my favorite songwriters, kind of looking at listening to their music, after you listen for a while, you're like, some of these things are just direct, they're right in your face.
Yeah.
There's no beating around the bush. It's just like, here's this story, and I'm going to tell you the story, and we're going to hear about all the little intricacies as well, which really, I think, can make a story that much cooler. I think, and it's I don't know, it's personal. It makes it more personal, even if you can't relate to whatever that flat tire in that song or whatever. It's cool to, the imagery is beautiful and cool to explore.
Anna and we've talked about, I don't know if on air or off air, how when it comes to our interest in music, while we love it to the T, it came from siblings that we have. My sister really got me into R&B and soul back when I was young in the 90s. And I know you mentioned your brother introduced you to a whole slew of like different genres. And with who you are as a songwriter and as an artist, who would you say that influence comes from in your life, whether it be family members or friends?
Just in general, like who influences me most?
Well, more so in reference to like how you really got passionate about music,
Oh, okay. Well, so it's interesting. My grandparents, my grandfather and my mother on my mother's side, and my grandmother, my father's mom, they both played music. But all of the parents, our parents in the family, none of them played any music. So, and again, it was never pushed on us. Is like, I know some kids grow up and they're like, they get tossed into piano lessons, and that's awesome. I think that's super cool. Because just to be, even if you don't have to grow up and be, to be Elton John or Billy Joel, but it's cool to, I think music's just a wonderful thing in general. So to be exposed to that at an early age, I think is super valuable. But I think influence wise, my family, we love music. It was always on around, one particular experience or experiences I can recall was like being in my aunt's backyard in Arlington Heights, Illinois. We grew up, she had a pool, and we'd be over there all the time in the summer. And she always had an oldies station on. And this is, at this point, I was probably listening to I was like anti whatever the adults were listening to. I was heavily into skateboarding and was really getting into punk rock and all the stuff that, was maybe a little left of center, whatever that might, alternative music, I guess is what it would be. Alternative punk rock and that sort of thing. But there was always soul music on it. There was I was hearing the Temptations and Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes and all this stuff that was on these oldie stations. And it was funny to watch that come full circle to where it's like, now that's like all I want to listen to.
Yes.
At the time it was, but it was this thing that probably was always in the back of my brain. Like, hey, don't forget about me. Like, you're going to love this one day. I promise you, And so that particular experience, just hearing that music played at my aunt's house for sure. And then my parents were always taking us to little local fests. And so the influence came from, I think, them being so into, as listeners, so into music, So when I expressed that I maybe wanted to play guitar and be a rock and roll nut, they were like, oh, okay. So they got me guitar lessons at a really young age. And yeah, so I guess my parents and yeah, family and then friends around you growing up, once you found people that kind of were like-minded as far as music listeners, you're like, oh, cool. And then you had this, you could connect on that level. And then, yeah, so I guess that love for music from family, friends, all connecting through music. Again, it's hard to say what really made me want to create. So it's interesting to discuss that today. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because this is going to be now after this today, I'm going to go and be sit out on the balcony. How did this happen? I don't really know, but I know that something struck me seeing this one particular guitar player in a local Chicago band. They're called the Buckinghams. I always talk about this. They had this guitar player, Bob Abrams. So it's unorthodox in the sense that I wasn't like Jimi Hendrix didn't blow my mind at a young age. He blows my mind now. Or Stevie Ray Vaughan, B.B. King. Love all those cats now. But this guy, Bob Abrams, had this red Fender Stratocaster guitar, and he would just rip. He was great. And I remember really being moved by that at a young age, probably 4 or 5, like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I thought that looked so cool. And that was a huge influence. That's probably the main influence was seeing that. And we would go see this local band around at all these little fests and whatnot. And my family loved him, and he was yeah. So that answer, that was kind of, I went way
No,
right.
that exactly is the content we are looking for.
Yeah. We're digging deep. We're digging deep.
What do you like most about performing? What draws you to like performing live?
Well, for one, it just feels good when you can connect with your instrument or a song, if you're playing solo, or like when you can connect with other people that you play with, like your bass player, your drummer, and things just lock and it feels good. And it's not always, you can't always put your finger on why it worked or why that was such a wonderful experience. But that's something that I definitely live for. And this day and age, being away from the stage so much in the last year and a half or so. I mean, I've done some gigs here and there, but I almost forget why what I love so much about music in the live experience until I get there and I do it, and I'm like, okay, it's cool to move an audience. You know, you hear a room get quiet all of a sudden when everybody's all drunk and whatnot, and you're like, okay, we did. I don't know what we did. I'm not sure what just brought them in, but I'm happy. I'm happy to see that happen. Folks come up to you after a set and they like pick out this one song and they said, I was tearing up. And it's like, whoa. So that's really cool too. I liked that. I like knowing that me spending the time with songs is not lost, you know, taking the time with a word or a line, you know, the fact that when you can see that come to fruition, you play it live and someone's like, oh man, like that was, you know, and then it's usually like, you weren't born in 1979, were you? No, 1992. But yeah, moving people. I think that is so, and you don't really think so much about it until you're having a beer or whatever after your set, or you're packing up and someone like tracks you down and comes up to you, hey man, that was, you know, that song really hit me. And it's like, that's cool. Even it could be one person a night, it doesn't matter, you know, and sometimes it doesn't happen, but that's definitely on those drives home or wherever you're headed after. It's cool. It's cool to think about that and know that you connected with somebody. I think that's what's so important about music, is connecting with people. Whether it's a party song or whatever, just making people feel good, or maybe that person hadn't visited this, you know, issue that they were going through, and maybe this song brought that out in them and made them feel like, oh, okay, it's cool. I can be honest with myself about this, and like you had said before, that they're not alone. You know, I guess in that, whether it was an experience, a traumatic experience that they went through, maybe hearing me address that, they're like, oh, okay, cool. You know, I feel like that just kind of like lifts some weight from your shoulders when you can hear somebody else talking about it. It's nice. It's not nice, but it's, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Man, I don't know, man. This man sounds like a therapist. The more he talks.
Oh gosh.
We can send you a link to get a certification if you want it. We got you.
I think it's, well, yeah, whatever. Yeah, send it.
Man, that would be a great outcome from this show. Next thing you know, Dennis becomes certified music therapist. Even on tours, I want to pick one person in the audience. We have a one-on-one conversation. It's based off the music.
Yeah. And it's so like everybody's experiences are different, you know, and I think in song, you know, someone's going to hear your song. Like, I think we had chatted about this, you know, even if it's a personal experience, somebody's probably going to walk away from that, hearing that song, and they're going to have a different idea in their head, or they're going to relate to, you know, take your idea and relate that to something that they went through, and they're like, this is kind of similar. And that's the idea that I think they're gonna lock into, rather than, because they don't know you that well usually, you know, unless it's a friend or family member that can say, oh wow, he wrote about that, you know. So yeah, it's unique. It's a unique experience for everybody, whether it's therapy or songwriting or going to a concert. It's different, and it's cool to dig into that, I guess.
Well, exactly what you were saying is kind of how I feel about Mountain Man, which I had to talk about because I really like that song.
Yeah, you like that one. I'm happy you like it. That's awesome.
I like it a lot because it's exactly like you're saying. Like when I hear that song, I'm like directly connecting it to my own life, because I think it sounds like you're maybe singing about like a grandparent or something. Like I don't know what you mean.
It's yeah. It's a Sorry, were you done? You can finish your. Did you have more to say on that?
No. I was just saying
Okay.
that's what the vibe
Yeah.
I got from it. But I do really like the line, because you keep saying like I've never seen Hill Country. So
Yeah.
but I wish I had. That's the line that I really connect to, and then just talking about like a hardworking person,
Yeah.
because like I think about Mexico and like my parents or my grandparents in Mexico that
Yeah.
I never got to meet, but I've heard all these stories of, and just thinking about like it becomes almost a part of you. Like you hear these stories about your family that you haven't experienced, things that you haven't seen, but it
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
embedded.
Yeah. That's an interesting song because it is totally fictional. Yeah.
But I like it. And I can still
Yeah, yeah.
connect to
No,
it.
I'm glad you like it. I think that's cool. That this is again what I was talking about. It's always someone's always going to take something different away from the listening experience, I think. Unless it's crazy direct and like I said, unless you know the artist and you're like, "Oh, okay. I know exactly what he's talking about. This is that one night when he was way too drunk," you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that song is interesting because I think the way it started was I was just kind of messing around on guitar at home. And I think I wrote it probably 5 years ago or so, 4 or 5 years ago. And I was just playing like some bluegrass style stuff on guitar. I was just like singing this little lyric, and then I was like, "Oh, I kind of like this." So I like finished the song, and I think I had recently seen a documentary on this famous moonshiner named Popcorn Sutton, and
First of all, Moonshine is awesome.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
good.
yeah, the real stuff is for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. It's potent.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had seen that, and I think the imagery from that, seeing this guy drive around in this old like Model T or whatever Model A, I don't know what it was, this old car, and he would drive this around in the hills and go to these different moonshine stills. And I was just thinking about what it would be like to grow up in that environment and that kind of be the way of like not knowing any different as far as like how you're going to make your living.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the idea behind that song. And then just yes, referencing the grandpa thing was just kind of referencing this guy getting older. And the guy who showed him what to do, I guess, had passed, and he was kind of carrying on this thing. It was yeah,
That's cool though,
criminal
because like
activity.
yeah, like so you saw something, you were inspired by it, and you
Yeah,
create this whole like story based
yeah,
off of it, and then it's a story that yeah others can connect to like here and but there's still something real behind it though, right? Because I mean
yeah,
like you're still talking about, you said to yourself like it's something that I don't know, like you like the idea of, right? Like
yeah. Definitely, and that's where I said, it's like again, I try to do like, especially trying to step in other shoes or tell some story, even if it's a fictional story, can be scary because you're probably going to play that sometime, and somebody might have a better idea about that way of living. They probably know it better than you do. And so that part is scary, because sometimes, with songs, that's not something you're constantly thinking about. And now I definitely am way more conscious of it because that's going to impact someone somewhere down the line, or someone's going to hear it and think, man, this bullshit. He doesn't know what this is. So if I'm ever writing about an experience that I really don't know that well, most of the time I've definitely seen a documentary or I've seen something. I've kind of had a glimpse, into whoever's lifestyle I'm writing about, and so from that I've taken song ideas and worked with them as best I can. And then like that like I've never seen Hill Country. That was my kind of my view on it because it was something I think it's it's this kind of cool, super like dangerous way of living, and then also I'd love to step into those shoes and see what these people are going through. And that was kind of the purpose in that course, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. I have 2 questions.
Hmm.
If I don't choke before then.
Don't get a sip of water. I'm kidding.
First question, and this is more so because you mentioned how you wrote that song 5 years ago. I thought that was cool. And I've always known this about artists, how they record a lot of music, but sometimes it doesn't often get released. So they have maybe stores of music, but I'll never get to listen to them. How do you choose the music you want to release?
Mm-hmm. So that last record I put out was the first full length body of work. So you kind of have a little more to choose from, I feel like, when you're right out of the gate like that, because you kind of are waiting to cut a record, or maybe you've had an EP out. I don't think I write that many songs. So yeah, I guess again, it goes back to that feeling thing. Does it feel good? You know, do you like the delivery of it? If you're playing with a band, are they, if they're like telling you, hey man, sometimes that's a big influence. You're like, you got to cut that song. You're like, okay, all right. Because maybe you don't, you know, that's a beauty about, you know, being surrounded by great musicians or engineers or producers, whoever you're working with, is that sometimes they're gonna like your kick in the ass and say, hey, like you'd be silly not to cut that one or something. So that is also super important. But yeah, I think if it's a song that most of the time it doesn't take me very long to realize that I really connected with it, and if other people are connecting with it, that's kind of a tell for me, just to be like, okay,
Okay.
let's put this on a record. I'm getting ready to do. I'm getting songs together for the next record. So that was a great question. So I'm got like a list that I'm like, oh, which should we be putting on here? And so
Okay, I like that.
yeah.
Second question, and this is more so in reference to our pre-interview where I disclosed that thanks to your music and like certain singles that I've heard in the past, I have more of invested interest to explore country music.
Mhm.
For listeners like me who will listen to this interview, get intrigued by your music and go, holy shit, this is the good shit that I've been missing out on. What
Thank you.
what would you say makes a good country music record?
Oh man,
That's an intense question, Matt.
it is.
I don't even know what I'll be saying sometimes.
Was that a question that you had ready, or was that just
No, I have nothing
wow.
ready. Nothing.
Oh, this is awesome.
Never have
Awesome,
anything
awesome.
ready.
Oh, that's killer. This is killer. You guys are asking great questions. You must be professionals.
No,
Um,
I went to school for this. I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah. This is a tricky one because I didn't grow up, you know, on country music necessarily. Maybe I could just veer off a hair and just maybe focus more on what makes it just a great record in general. Because I think these days I'm more so focused on like trying to better understand an artist's direction when I'm listening to a record, or and kind of taking the genre out of it.
Yeah.
I think what makes a great record in general is, you know, when you can listen all the way through. The other day we talked about D'Angelo's Voodoo, you know, which is definitely something. I'm like, I don't, that's not a style of music that I'm recording, you know. It's definitely an influence on me, and it might not be so, you might not take that away from what you listen to on my records. But when you can listen to an album all the way through and it just connect, like every song, you get to that last track and it wraps and you're like, how do you make that any better? I think sometimes it's not something, again, like that you can put your finger on and you're like, oh man, it's a feel thing. But I think what makes a great record is an honest record.
Yes.
When there's no second guessing whether or not that there was struggle involved in the songwriting process, and it was heartfelt experience creation wise. Yeah, that's what I look for. I look for rawness and just people being real, you know. Again, party songs are great, you know, and they're great. I mean, look at, like, I love Prince. You know, and those songs are heavy, like even like Little Red Corvette. Some of those are great verses in that song, you know, and they're really like unique, and that's the stuff I look for in a great song, great records. I just like honesty, really.
And when we talked about that, I really appreciated you just mentioning that when it comes to how you consume music, you don't try to disparage like one particular genre. Me, like I just did earlier, pop. That's just one that I respect. And at the same time, because of the level of maturity that I've had to go through as far as my own like development as like a kid from adolescent to adulthood, and also just the profession that I work in, it doesn't take a lot, but sometimes you really have to look inward in order to be like, you know what? I want to learn how to embrace all things, not to the same extent that maybe most people do, but just enough to say, you know what? I can understand why people appreciate this.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's super valuable. And that's like looking at anything in life. I do that a lot more now. Like if someone's honking their horn at you and the light just turned green and you're like, chill the fuck out. But now I'm more like, that person might just be having a shitty day. You know, you don't know what they're going through. So that being able to relate that way has been super cool. And now rather than, you know, I think there are definitely people that will bash, you know, bro country, or they'll go out of their way to really like, and I don't think that that's necessary to do. I think if people are moved by music, or it is their escape or their way to address, if it makes them feel good, I think it's cool. Then keep listening to that, you know. And these artists too, if they're creating that way and they're honest people and that makes them feel good and their fans feel good, then what's wrong with that? You know, it's not about country or rock and roll or man, this is, you know, I only listen to old school country and fuck this new shit. You know, it's like, okay, I understand that, but it's like I think that sometimes it's not necessary and you don't have to do that. You don't have to make that music and you don't have to listen to whatever you don't want to listen to. It's your prerogative. If that makes somebody else feel good, that makes me feel good. You know, it's cool. So I try to see things that way now.
There was this one song that came out, I think a week or two ago, that I sent Anna a music video of, and she has sent me the song to listen to because we hadn't like checked each other's songs yet. And we both were like, man, has a really great melody, but it's a really shitty song. And I was thinking about going like, oh, we could do like an exclusive feature where you do your reaction to it on the podcast, but I don't want to subject you to it because it really has a good melody and it's catchy, but I hate it. I hate that song so much.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That song's hilarious.
Yes.
What song is it?
It's a rap song with the trap subgenre, and this group of guys samples. Is it Michelle Branch?
Yes, Michelle Branch. 1,000 Miles.
Yeah.
Oh wait! Isn't that Vanessa Carlton?
Right. Oh. Right.
Yeah.
Sure. That's 1,000 Miles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That. Now I got to hear it because I love that song.
The song's called "Who I Smoke," and it's by a bunch of people. It's hilarious. Like it just starts because it starts off like with 1,000 Miles, like and you know that song. Like it's just really like you know.
It's a classic.
It's a classic, and then all of a sudden it goes to I don't know, Matt. Do you want to explain it?
No, I don't want to. I don't want to ruin this new relationship we are fostering on the podcast. I don't want to subject and traumatize you to any content that may just go, yeah, no. So
no, this is
not a love song.
I'm an open-minded man.
I am too, but sometimes I have my limits. And this song puts me to my limits.
It's rough. After this, I'm gonna put it on. I definitely gonna check this.
You listen to "Who I Smoke." Yeah, Matt sent me the YouTube video, and then I sent him the Spotify link because I was just laughing. I was laughing so hard when I heard it.
It's rough, huh? It's just
can't even say it's rough. It's just the two should not be mixed, and yet it still works. But because of how old I am, I just can't. Like for the young kids, sure. But for me, at 31 years old and a therapist, I can't. No.
Wow. I'm definitely gonna put this on and get your both your info, and I'm gonna text you guys and say, hey.
I just think it's funny. I think it's pretty funny. I like genre, like I like pretty much all genres. The only stuff that I can't really get into is like just elevator music. It's like from the 90s. Yeah. That stuff that plays in the elevator. I just can't find anything redeeming about it. Okay. And I used to say that I didn't like jazz, but that's not true. I do like jazz. I just didn't realize the extent of what jazz was. But I do like all genres. I think from our last interview, it solidified things a little bit for me more. Our last artist interview, we interviewed a hip-hop artist called Nicholas May, a Chicago hip-hop artist, and he was talking about the hip-hop industry and how sometimes there's a lot of music that is put out that is just based on funding that the artist had. There's no quality to it, you know.
That's where it gets strange for me, because you're especially when you're people that aren't songwriters, or they're just curious about your career. They'll ask you, well, when are you gonna, there's like the whole thing like, when are you gonna make it big, and all these like weird, it's so different for every individual as an artist, and tons of folks just aren't even really searching for that sort of thing. Whereas if like this idea of like being a celebrity is like high on the list, but there's no like what do you want to be a celebrity for? You just want the glitz and the glamour. I don't know. It's so just to make a song because it's going to make you tons of money is that always stumps me.
And that's what I get from this song that I just mentioned. That's probably the main reason why it's hard for me to sit with, because I can enjoy it easily, but I know that there wasn't much thought put into this. It was just like an amalgamation that normally is fun. Like I know when Jay-Z and Linkin Park did their like mashup album, it was cool and it was innovative and it was something new for both of them. But
Yeah.
this seems like a really quick cash grab. And shock and reaction like I'm giving them now. So I probably shouldn't have talked about it. Oh well, too late.
But that's exactly what I was talking about, like with country music as well. I think we tend to think about like hip hop and country as like two completely different things, but there's some similarities with that. You can totally disagree with me,
No, I
Dennis.
don't think
I
so.
do not care if it's wrong, because I just feel like that's something that's been happening more and more with country music lately. Is like I'm just gonna put out this song just because I have the money to do it, or because it's gonna bring in money. Like, yeah, people might enjoy it and it might be like a fun song, but there's just nothing to it. Where country music, I think, used to be, or what I liked about it was that it was supposed to be kind of like the working man's music, and it's in Spanish, like in Mexico, there's this music genre called like rancheros, which is like, like ranch music, and it's music about, working and,
Yeah.
love and family and all of the sorts of things. And country music is kind of the closest related genre to ranchero music. So my dad, he listens to rancheros, but he also likes Johnny Cash and he likes Willie Nelson,
Yeah,
because there's like a connection there, right?
totally.
Like the average man's music.
Yeah,
But now it's getting, I just feel like it's just getting a little bit closer to more like, yeah, what we're seeing with like hip hop and pop, where it's just, I have the money to put this out, so I'm going to put it out, or this is going to bring in cash, so not that there's anything inherently wrong with that, but then it's like I'm not going to connect to it,
yeah. When you can, especially if you're not, creating yourself, if you're a listener and it's at that point for the listener, like that terrifies me, because once people realize that it's just this, I guess it depends what you want. Like you said, if we love to listen to party music, it's fun. Have a couple drinks or whatever. If you don't drink, that's cool too. It's still fun to dance around and whatnot while you're sober. But there's a time and a place, and I think sometimes it's more just maybe someone just more into the feel. They're not really listening to the. Because I've definitely heard some songs. People are like, oh, you haven't heard this? They put it on. My brain goes right to the lyrics. It
Yeah.
always just goes to what's coming out of their mouths. That's usually what loses me in a lot of music, where you're like, what? Like this is not real. Like, or maybe it is for you, but you can't relate to it because you're like, that's not who I am. I don't know. Some things you can't connect with, and it's like that's cool too, right? Because you're like, oh.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you about like the whole, like, if it's fun, okay, like Brooks and Dunn. I love Brooks and Dunn. I used to love Tim McGraw.
Yeah,
All their songs that meaningful.
they've
I know
got
Tim
some
McGraw
great
doesn't.
songs though. Yeah,
Yeah, but I know Tim McGraw doesn't write all the songs, so it just
yeah.
so it's but I mean, like, they're fun. They're like the classics. I mean, Brooks and Dunn, I definitely kind of hold it a higher.
And like killer songs though. That era, like that particular era, like Tim McGraw, like Just to See You Smile. There's some great words in there.
That's like my favorite. Yeah, that's one of my
Yeah.
favorite songs. His song,
So
the album where it was oh man, he had a song called like Blank Sheet of Paper. It was one of those ones where I liked the whole album.
okay,
Just Be Your Tear was on this album.
okay,
It was I think it was after his dad died.
okay.
And so it was a little bit more real, but that was an album where I was like, I can listen to this thing all the way
Yeah,
through and it's good, but we don't, I don't know. I just feel like I don't see that as much anymore. So
yeah. I feel like it's kind of like anything. Like big baggy pants are back in again. So I mean, it's like there's
Oh yeah, Jankos or whatever they're called. I don't
oh
know.
Jinko, yeah,
Yeah.
Jinko jeans. Yeah, bigger pants and puffy skate shoes are back in. Like, but I think there's like there are trends like in anything, and I mean, if that's something you're into and you want to follow that, hop on that wave. I think that's like again, if you're happy doing that and that's what you feel your purpose is, then by all means do that. As long as you're being honest with yourself, I really don't care. That's cool.
It really was. Sorry to cut you off.
No, no, no. Go ahead.
it reminds me, like, I've always noticed, I'm sure everybody has that trend of like 70s, 80s, 90s, and then now we have the 2000s. And I've always noticed, like, as far as style, we revert back to those last 4 decades. So like now we're back in the 90s again with the 90s, early 2000s with the skater shoes and the baggy jeans. And I was like, when are we going to get there? But I guess I also forgot that that was the thing that we could go back to. So that's why I'm like, oh, this is right on time. And yet I don't know why I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah. And some of the, I think it's kind of cool. Like, I don't know. Again, it's like this honest thing. I mean, style is cool. It's something I'm always paying attention to. I think it's interesting, and it's cool to have your own identity and express yourself in all sorts of ways. You know, whether it's what you listen to or the giant pants that you want to wear, whatever it is. I think it's cool. If you feel good doing that, by all means, do it. You know.
Yeah.
I don't think I could wear Jinko jeans at this point, though.
I'll have to Google them.
I'm never gonna wear.
They had like really long pockets. They had like the back pockets were super long. And they had like designs like on one pocket or pipe jeans.
All right, I got them.
Oh,
so like bell bottom kind of, sort of.
Kind of. They would like cover your shoes a lot. Yeah.
Bigger. It's bigger than bell bottom.
Usually there was a wallet chain involved.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah, the big wallet chain.
Yeah, I remember. That was the thing.
But it's all cool. Yeah, like there's just cycles and trends, and music is one thing for me that, and just in general, I tend to resist what seems to be working, which sounds really strange. But once I see something that's been done or is where everybody else is gravitating, what they're gravitating toward, I tend to just try to do something to shake it up a bit and not, you know, I don't know why, but I think looking back and reflecting on most of my life, I think that's kind of always how I've been. So I don't know. Yeah. And if you tell me that I'm not doing something right, then it's probably intentionally that I'm doing it that way. I don't know. Yeah.
I love the fact that, I don't know if all of us have noticed this, but I love that we were so into the interview and now we're going into what I enjoy, the tangential conversations. This is what makes the podcast pop to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love, you know, I'm always like who wants to hear what I have to say? You know what I mean? But coming from me, who is constantly watching like day in the life videos on all sorts of stuff, musicians, skateboarders, all like this is stuff that I watch on a daily basis on YouTube and whatnot. I'm always just like binge watching all that. And you're like, oh, like I'm consuming this stuff, you know, and like it's cool to hear about the inner workings or what that person eats for breakfast. It's interesting to see how they function, you know. There's something really intriguing about that. So podcasting, I think, is cool, and that's why I dig podcasts, because it's people having a conversation for the most part, and I think that's the stuff that I always dig, you know.
You make a really good point. I remember the MTV like behind the scenes like stuff for like different artists. I miss that so much. Ever since you just mentioned it just now.
Mm-hmm. That stuff's killer, like VH1 storytellers.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or behind the music. Was that?
I can't remember which one.
That was MTV or VH1, one of those. Yeah. But I love that. I'm huge. I love documentaries and any kind of documentary too. But the new Tina Turner documentary was.
I have not seen it yet.
I saw it. I've seen like almost every music documentary that's on anything.
That was super heavy and sad in a lot of spots, but it was great. I think it was really, really well done.
Okay, this is my last question. I don't know if you have any more.
I don't think I have any more.
Have I been able to answer these questions adequately?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure.
This one is going to sell the entire episode, though.
Oh gosh.
When you potentially have a documentary released based on your career, can we interview you for it?
Oh, 100%.
Hey, yay!
100%. Yeah, you guys have made this experience like great. This is a wonderful chat with both of you. It's cool to open up. I enjoy doing it because it allows me to, especially when you have no sort of game plan and you don't have questions beforehand or anything. It's you know, I like that approach to most things because you're just like hit with stuff, right? You know, like out of nowhere, and it gives you a second to like, oh, okay, reflect on stuff that I don't think about. Maybe you do think it's like a subconscious thing. So when someone does ask you a question like that's heavy or really deep,
Yeah.
You kind of have to take a second minute. Okay, let me think about this for a moment. And so I figure out a lot of stuff along the way doing these types of things, and I appreciate it. Yeah. Super
That's
cool.
how therapy works, though, right? We
Yeah,
ask,
yeah.
because we don't send our clients like the questions we're going to ask ahead of time. It's like
Right,
in the
right, yeah.
moment, and then everything is figured out as you're talking. Like you're just like,
Yeah, yeah. And one thing leads to the next. And then next thing you know, you're talking about big baggy pants and and wallet chains.
Oh man, no. Well, no, not for me. Maybe when I'm older. Yeah.
when you're older. All right, Dennis. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being on the show. Yeah. Oh, and for our listeners, check out Dennis's new single, "Cold Cold Heart." Is there anything you want to add about that really quick?
Yeah, Cold Cold Heart. That came out on April 9th. You can listen to that just about anywhere. YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify. It's out on most music platforms. Should be. And got a couple dates up north. Actually, I'll be with my trio in Wakanda, Illinois on May 14th. And then on the 15th, I'll be in Arlington Heights, Illinois at Arlington Ale House. Follow me on Instagram, anybody that's tuning in, and I would love to keep in touch with both of you. Yeah, come to some shows, everybody, and find me on Bands in Town. You can track me on there and see where I'll be playing next. And slowly starting to pick up some shows again, and just trying to be safe and respectful, and crazy times. But yeah, I appreciate everybody listening to the music, and thank you guys so much for inviting me and allowing me to kind of dig a little deeper into what I do. I'm really, really super grateful. I'm glad you guys are digging some of these songs, and I love what you guys do.
Well, Matt and I will have to check out that show.
Yes, I was just
gonna say,
yeah, Wakanda's not that far from me, I think.
Where,
I don't know where I live.
You're not.
You really don't. I live in Lake County. That's what I know.
Okay.
Which is not far from me.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Wakanda could potentially be in Lake County. I have no idea.
I think it is. I think Wakanda is in Lake County.
I'm not gonna make the corny joke that Wakanda's in Black Panther.
Gosh.
Oh, the Black Panther thing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make that joke. That's too easy.
Yeah, come out to the show for sure. Would love to see you guys there and get to meet you in person. This has been a blast, really.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you bet. We'll see you guys. I'll shoot you a message. I'll get y'all's info, and we would love to stay connected. It's been really a great pleasure to chat with both of you.
I just put the link for that music video in the chat. So I forget the expression. Something to have you depart with. I don't remember what it is.
A parting gift.
Yes. Yes.
That was what's a song called? Who you smoke?
Who I smoke.
Who I smoke. But also, Matt, we forgot to ask Dennis one last question because we forgot about our non-new Music Friday recommendation. So now we're really going to put you on the spot because we need a music recommendation for you, for our listeners. It could be anything, just any song that it could be your own song if you want to like self-promote. We're totally about that. Or just anything. Yeah.
Some friends of mine, bands called Michigan Rattlers. They just put out a new song called "That Kind of Life." I believe that's what. Let me just double check.
I'm gonna write this down because
I don't want to get this. And yes, they're guys that I know, and but honestly, I love what they do. Every time they put something out, it's their music is so easy to listen to, and I love their songs. They're great people. But yeah, That Kind of Life, Michigan Rattlers. I'll also sneak another one in. My friend Katie Frank, she's here in Nashville by way of Philadelphia. She's just put out a new track as well. So check out Katie Frank, check out Michigan Rattlers. And then I don't know what else. As far as what I love checking out friends' music, but I've been really digging this old Carl Perkins record.
Yeah.
From 1957, I think. Yes, 1957. It's called The Dance Album. It's just super early, kind of like rock and roll. I think that country rock and roll stuff. That's he's one of the. I believe he's one of the godfathers of that. So, and in general, listen to what you like. That's my last recommendation. Listen to what you like. It makes you feel good, like I've been saying this whole time. I think that's the most important. And whether it brings you down or lifts you up, I think both of those things are cool to address and express.
You are a gentleman and a scholar.
I appreciate it. Likewise.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
You'll have a wonderful Sunday. Thanks so much for having me. I'll shoot y'all a message here and get your info. We'd love to stay in touch.
Sounds good.
All right.
Awesome.
Take care.
Bye.
Adios.
All right. What's it called again? Not New Music Fridays.
Not New Music Friday, our
Yeah.
special segment.
Do you mind going first? Because I actually have to find my recently played on Spotify because there was something I wanted to recommend. I just can't remember what it is.
Yeah, well, I had like a couple because our last episode I talked about Nutcase by Ryan Caravello. He has a new song out called Daisies, which I really like. That's his new single. I like it because it's like he's talking about a girl and he's basically saying, she's like daisies and he's basically not like daisies. It's funny. I don't know. You gotta listen to it. It's kind of funny, but it's definitely relatable. I liked that song. There's also have you heard of Kaleo?
No.
Okay, well they're more like a sort of like alternative band, I think, and they have a new single out. Came out this week called Hey Gringo. It's awesome. If you like rock music. So I would suggest that. Actually, I think that will be my official suggestion. Okay. It's going to be Kaleo's Hey Gringo. We will add that to our infinite playlist.
Spotify, here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to make it easier to help us find our listening history. I shouldn't have to ask Google. It should just be already available to me.
Don't you like songs if you like them? Like I always just have my list of liked songs and then the most recent ones are right at the top.
I do, but it's weird. I reserve the ones that I like for those that ironically I really, really like. Like I have to like this. I don't want to forget this. And then sometimes I'll have like my phone because it is always listening for music in the background to tell me exactly like this is what you were listening to. So I'll like look it up and then automatically ask Google to play it. But then I don't actually like it. So what I'm going to do instead, for the sake of time, is just think of a song off the top of my head that I remember what the song was going to be. Jasmine Sullivan, Let It Burn. So Jasmine Sullivan is somebody who I have followed for quite some time since she came out with her first album. She has an amazing voice. Bust Your Windows Out Your Car. Need You Bad, Going in Circles, Insecure with Bryson Tiller, Let It Burn. I know she has a new project out, but that song in itself was one I was listening to on repeat because I feel like it emphasizes what it truly means to find yourself in love and trying to take the plunge into putting in that effort with somebody who has that mutual interest in you and you're just letting it just happen naturally. Just the instrumentation, her vocals in itself, which are powerful, just really great. So that's what I'm putting on non-New Music Fridays because it's not even new music. Aha.
Yeah, our New Music Friday, one, I've suggested a lot of songs that aren't new. So one, it's not new music, and two, it's not Friday. So yeah, it's doubly awesome. Yes, we do record on Sundays, listeners, in case you're wondering.
Bitches. You guys aren't bitches, but you know what I mean. Keeping it
Don't insult the listeners.
I would never. I love you guys. You guys make us who we are.
Yeah, you guys are great. Thank you again, as always, to everyone who has followed us and liked our page on Facebook, everyone who is following us on Instagram. We are getting a little bit of growing on there. I mean, we have it's building. So Instagram, check us out on there. Check us out on Facebook. YouTube, we are working on. It's coming along. Should be up within the next week or so. I mean, our YouTube page is up. We just haven't uploaded our episodes yet. So we will be doing that. This one definitely will be uploaded on there.
Mm-hmm. And don't feel free to wait until we have content on there. Feel free to subscribe right now and turn on that hit that notification bell, as the YouTubers say, so that you can be alerted to new content as it is uploaded, when it is uploaded on demand. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And you never know. Matt and I might just make some like random content and upload it on YouTube. But anytime, you never know.
Or we might just go live and you guys can ask us questions and we can do a Q&A and give you guys more insight. But we're not providing you with free therapeutic services. That's what we get paid for.
Yeah. And it's not legal, I don't think. No, yeah, definitely don't use our podcast for therapeutic services.
Yeah,
We're just talking.
it's just two therapists talking, not providing therapy to each other.
Whoa, I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
Which
we're
part?
not. We're definitely us providing therapy to each other.
That would be weird as shit.
Yeah, we can't do that. There's so many ethical problems with that. So, but Dennis definitely should be a therapist. We figured that out today.
Yes. It was very interesting just hearing him speak, and like a lot of the like different like mindsets, lessons, experiences that he spoke about. I'm like, shit, I feel like I have to go to school and practice to learn all this stuff. Man, maybe I should just drop out of like my career and just travel and just meet new people, because then it's genuine. It's a real way to actually meet new people. I'm not saying I'm going to quit my career, but it's when you actually step outside of your comfort zone and you go out and you try to meet new people, interact with them, and learn things from other people, you become much more varied and cultured, and it's cool to experience and see.
I 100% agree. Seems like it'd be fun. Oh, traveling therapy. Definitely not a thing because our licenses are only work in Illinois. But if it was a thing, I would totally do that. I would just travel the world providing therapy to anyone who speaks English because I cannot speak any other languages. But if I could, I would offer it in multiple languages.
Wouldn't it be great if traveling therapy was a thing, and depending on how good of a therapist you were when it comes to like ratings and reviews and all that, the client would be like, I want to work with you. I'm going to fly you out. Okay. All right. Hotel and everything too. All right, dog. I got you. Save your life or help you save your own life. Wow.
Whoa. I love it. I love it. But all right, listeners, that is it for this episode. Episode
7. Lucky number 7.
Episode 7. We hope that you enjoyed it. Check out Dennis's music. We're going to be by the time you guys hear this, we will have posted a couple of YouTube videos from Dennis. We will have shared his music, so check it out. As always, remember, check out TBD Coffee. Yes. And look for more things that we're going to be doing with them, too.
Mm-hmm. As far as places you can find us, of course, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. You can find us. You can subscribe to us on Patreon for future exclusive content. We are on most of your favorite streaming platforms, social media, of course, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, not on Twitter. Maybe we'll get a Twitter. I don't really want to be on Twitter. Too toxic.
I don't know how to tweet, but Instagram, if you follow us on Instagram, I have a link tree posted there. So you have links to all of our other accounts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. On Facebook, I believe I have the same link tree posted. So.
And who knows, maybe you'll be seeing us real soon in the future. Who knows? Maybe sooner than you think.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Deuces.